Welcome everyone to another episode of Big Brain MMA Podcast, episode 34. I'm your host, BigSteve. Got Mr. ScrapCapper back after a week of being on Fight Pass in Perth. If you want to check him out, go check out Eternal MMA. Looking like a superstar. How you been, mate?
Yeah, good, mate. Same old. Like you said, just back from Perth. A little bit jet lag still, but nothing major.
That's cool. Just breaking down this UFC Vegas 64 card. Not too bad. I mean, we've got a couple of bets, which we'll discuss now. We'll do a quick overview of last week. How did you go, mate? I'll let you go first.
Ooh, last week. Yeah, I think I ended up going okay. I think I had a very small profit. Unfortunately, a bunch of the favorites that I bet dropped the ball, which was disappointing. The likes of Hawes, Fremd, and then the really, obviously, unfortunate injury in the main event. And then also Bandera, but had wins on Khalil, Park, Christian Rodriguez, and then managed to kind of salvage my weekend by live betting Jake Paul, of all people. So I think I ended up but basically break even, like a negligible profit. So yeah, a bit disappointed with those outcomes. I thought Hawes was doing okay, and turned out that he had like zero leg lock awareness and basically destroyed his own knee. Jalidze was going for a knee bar, and Hawes pretty much gave him an inside heel hook, or just turned away that just completely shredded his own knee. I'll mention the Khalil. That was pretty fortunate. He really shouldn't have won that fight, to be honest. But you take the lucky bounces where you can get them. Frem, just don't know what the guy's doing. shooting that takedown when he was clearly winning the round to that point on the feet. Just silly. Bandera, yeah, that's what you get for betting on Bandera, right? Guy's got a huge grappling edge, doesn't use it at all, and for the first time ever, just decides he's going to become like a very low tempo, no volume fighter. When he's, every UFC point to this fight, he's put a pretty good output out there and set a decent pace. Hit the GTD live on Griffin Means, and then just shame on the Cater injury. Allen started pretty well, I think most people knew he would. You're kind of betting on Cater, banking that he would start building throughout the rounds as he does and take over down the stretch, and obviously didn't get a chance to see if that was going to happen or not with the knee injury. So yeah, that was a bummer. So not the best weekend, but not a disaster either. So moving on.
Yeah, well, I'll address this now and then move on because it's been bothering me a lot. So I was up about 2,000 on Bellator, which, I mean, I don't smash Bellator ever. It's like my bogey promotion. Hit Barnaoui and Alfie Davis, and got robbed on that massive underdog, that girl Marconi, and then hit Rodriguez by finish, $2.20, and then Rodriguez by sub to be up another 1.5. Hit the Hooper finish as well. I was like, oh man, this is finally, I'm turning my month around. This is what I needed. And then all started going wrong. I hit Park as well. Park was in a parlay with Friend. So I was like, oh, this is just set up for a beautiful day. And obviously I was talking about Lima round one on the podcast. And for some reason I went Lima round one KO, even though I was very of submission. So he gets a round one sub. And then I advocated for Khalil on the podcast because obviously on Tuesday, that was one of my only bets, and the go the distance in the main event. That's why I said if I don't have my leans or more bets, we'll do the podcast later. But this week we're good because I did proper tape. So I was like, look, I said it on the podcast. This is one of my best bets. I have to play Khalil. So I played Khalil, right? And then after round one, I cash out and I just hammer Jacoby live thinking he's up 2 rounds. And then obviously I get smashed there. And then a hedge Friend with Gore KO decision. I get smashed there as well. And I was just like, just lost all my profits for Bellator and just back to square one. So that's bothered me a lot. So after this is the last time I'll be talking about it. I can just move onto the next event. Still had a profitable month, but yeah, just being 2,000, 3,000 up, and then just being back to zero. I think the only profit I made was $250 on Eternal MMA on the $4 underdog right before your mate fought. So a bit annoying. My favorite bet was probably Christian Rodriguez by sub, $7.75. But yeah, that's what happens. I was getting away with things like Gordon with getting getting a submission in the last 20 seconds, and it would have been like $2,000 down. So those are the lucky breaks. So I was expecting something to come back and get me, and I blame the early wake ups. 2 a.m. for the pay-per-view, 6 a.m. for this card. Thought process all over the place. But
it's those double chances, I find that they're really worth it. I learned when I bet Jake Collier KO decision over Sherman. I think that was the last one where I just said no more after that, right? It's not worth it for what is really a very small difference in implied probability most of the time.
I mean, I learned that a long time ago. But it's just, you still make mistakes after like 4 years.
Yeah, 100%, man. I've been guilty of it as well, right? Just lately as well. Been doing couple silly things.
Yeah. So for me to sleep at night, I just blame things like early wake ups, because I don't feel the same when I wake up at 6 a.m. I feel like my cortisol is a bit higher. I'm getting a little bit more stressed watching my bets and like, oh, what's going on here? I don't usually give a crap. But yeah, and pretty much big night on Bellator, and then I just lost it all on UFC. So literally break even. I wish I live bet Jake Paul. I was watching that. I don't know why I didn't pull the trigger. I had the live bet in front of me too. So it's just the day where I wasn't on. But let's move on. I'll do the first 2 fights. Money, lot of events to go, a lot of money to be made. Still in profit for the year, both of us. So let's finish it with a bang. Ramona Pascual, Tamirez Vidal, horrible fight. Really don't want to talk about it. Pascal is the worst fighter in the UFC, and I honestly thought it was dog or pass, just because Vidal seems to have really bad takedown offense and okay jiu-jitsu. But I'm pretty sure Pascal is a black belt herself. She just can't really get any takedowns herself because her wrestling's atrocious. She bends at the waist and just no athleticism whatsoever. I passed on Pascal as a decent dog, and now the odds have come in heaps, so I'm definitely not interested. What about you?
Yeah, same, man. I'm actually kind of glad for the line movement, to be honest. Otherwise, I think I might have been tempted into betting Pascual. Like you said, she's just like not got a fiber of athleticism in her body, so she can barely strike. I mean, she was struggling to hit what's her face, Josiane Nunes, who was like, she was so much bigger than her, right? She should have been able to hit her at will, but she hates getting hit. She can't land strikes because she's so slow. Like you said, she bends at the waist for her takedowns, and she just airplanes in. It's probably just a classic shit show, low-level women's MMA grappling fight. Whoever ends up on top in some god-awful grappling exchanges probably wins rounds, and it's, just no interest in betting now, honestly. So, yeah, easy pass here.
Cool. Easy peasy. Next one, I have a little bit of interest. Jake Hadley, Carlos Candelario. Obviously, the line is I'm surprised that the line is this juiced, considering Hadley he should have lost some hype from his first loss and just getting 30-27. I actually faded him there because you see in all his tape he's getting taken down. He's getting taken down at least once. I just got to refresh my memory exactly which fights, but obviously on Contender Series he got taken down in the first round. It looked pretty average, and then just got one back taken and neck crank, and submitted the guy. But then if you go back even to, let me just find that fight, Blaine O'Driscoll on Bellator, he was losing that fight. He was losing 2 rounds to 0, and then he got another third round rear naked choke. So he's a physical wrestler. He's got good rear naked chokes, good back taker. But when he came up against Alan Nascimento, who's actually a really good jiu-jitsu fighter, he couldn't just take advantage of a quick back take. He just got dominated. Just ended up on bottom. He got a couple of sweeps, which is impressive. But just a way better fighter in Nascimento. Candelario, man, he's never been submitted, and I mean, in hindsight, the Tyra performance looks quite decent. Survived, and he took him down multiple times and had his own success. Had a guillotine, had the balls to go for a guillotine against Tyra, but got reversed. So I mean, he can handle. He's fought so many black belts now. He had a black belt on Contender Series before his 4-year layoff. So I feel like I don't think he's going to get submitted here by Jake Hadley. You know, he hasn't been submitted by better jiu-jitsu fighters, in my opinion. So then how does Jake Hadley cover this price, you know, knowing that he always drops around or he always gets taken down? And Candelario probably he's got a bit of grit in him and goes for his own takedowns. So I just see, you know, I can potentially see Jake winning a close decision where he takes him down, takes his back a couple times. But, I mean, I've seen Candelario get out of it against Tyra. I've seen him get his own takedowns. He's probably got more activity with the boxing. It's just his gas tank. He slowed down bad on Contender Series. He slowed down a bit in his debut, but he said he was sick. I've seen him slow down bad coming up that 4-year layoff. I don't know, and Hadley comes on strong. I feel like this could be one of those fights where there's a lot of value, and then the massive favorite just comes out and sneaks out a win. But yeah, it's easy dog or pass for me, man. I wouldn't be touching Jake Hadley coming off that loss. Where you should be opening people's eyes, yet the bookie is still valuing quite highly. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I agree, man. I think we're largely on the same page here. Yeah, also surprised to see Hadley lined as such a large favorite after, you know, how badly he dropped the ball compared to how he was priced against Nascimento. To be fair, like Nascimento completely changed his game for that fight, you know, said after he had won that, you know, talked to his coach. And somehow it takes a guy who's had that many pro fights to realize you just can't be playing guard and trying to win off your back. But yeah, Hadley got dominated there, right? Red flags we saw were he was pretty easy to take down. He didn't seem to have very good defensive reactions to the takedowns Nascimento was shooting. To his credit, Nascimento was shooting some pretty decent blast doubles, right? Nascimento, pretty big athletic guy for flyweight, pretty explosive and physical. And he was just bundling Hadley off his feet pretty easily. You know, Hadley doesn't have that like reactive sprawl, and the way that Hadley kind of just pressures forward and walks into the pocket straight into range, kind of like has a bit of like disregard for the takedown, I guess, in that sense, was getting him taken down easily. And then, yeah, he's a bit happy to play guard. He's good with that like rubber guard or Maplata sequence that he uses to sweep. But, you know, it's not exactly what you want to see. His get-ups weren't great there. I do credit a lot of that, though, to Nascimento being such a good jiu-jitsu player and also being really physical, especially in round 2. The get-ups I saw Hadley working, I was kind of like on tape, I was thinking, I think he probably gets up against Candelario there, if I'm honest. Like, Nascimento seemed like he's working really, really hard to hold him down, and it was kind of his physicality that was getting him done there. I'm not sure Candelario can hold him down in those same spots, and you would have to assume Hadley's gone back to the drawing board and kind of like worked on the massive holes that were exposed against Nascimento, and it's going to be harder for Candelario to do the same thing here. That being said, I think there's a little bit of value. I agree. I don't think it's a massive edge because I think on the feet, Hadley's going to win the minutes, just being aggressive, pushing forward and throwing the strikes that he does. Candelario is just like a lot of single strikes on the feet. You know, it doesn't do much to decisively win rounds standing. He does shoot a good single leg, though. Got Tyra down with it a couple times. Hadley's got the same bad habits as Tyra, looking for guillotines and stuff when he gets shot on. So I won't be surprised to see Candelario get him down early. The thing for me is like Candelario just doesn't do much with his top time, like unless he's got a massive like jiu-jitsu edge, which I don't think he will. Hadley's pretty decent on bottom. You know, Nascimento was struggling to do too much to him. So I just kind of think he'll bank a little bit of control time, but it's just going to be so easy for Hadley to win the round back if he can sweep and get on top himself, or just get back to the feet and go back to work standing. So I just feel like Candelario's margins are a little bit thin here. That being said, I have placed a small bet on him because I do think there's a little bit of value. Instead of being like a plus 2, 10, 20, 30 underdog that he has been, I think it's moved a bit now. I'd probably line him a bit more like a plus 160 maybe, if I had to guess. So I think there's a bit of an edge, not a massive one though. So I don't mind Candelario for a small bet, but I definitely will be, I'm kind of hoping that he wins round 1, gets takedown enough top time to win round 1, and then I can bail live on Hadley because, yeah, like you said about his cardio, I just don't really trust that down the stretch later. I'd expect Hadley to be the one really like pushing things. In the later rounds, Candelario will be looking for takedowns and probably just bad optics, you know, just trying to kind of hang on top without doing much damage, and Jake Hadley will be the one looking to work his way up and sort of inflict all the damage, I think. So, yeah, small dog play, not one I'm massively convicted in, and hopefully can hedge live.
Indeed, it's quite surprising that his odds are the same as the Turo Tyra fight after he, you know, stuffed all the takedowns in the first. And did quite well, and now it's, you know, they're saying Jake Hadley's going to do the same thing to him. If he does the same thing, it's still going to be value, you know.
Yeah.
But let's move on. I might get on that with you at some point. Maybe I get on sooner rather than later because the odds are obviously moving, like you said. They haven't moved yet for me, so.
I'm wondering what the decision prop comes out at, because I'm not too sure what a Candelario finish looks like. I submitted my guess, but seems a bit thin.
No, I don't see a finish whatsoever.
Yeah.
Next fight, Johnny Munoz Jr. versus Vidal V Sholinian. No real take on here, so I really let you. It's even better that I'm letting you take this one away. I kind of considered Munoz at the minus 200 better, and I got absolutely steamed. So no, not really fan of the underdog. He's don't rate the guy at all. What do you think?
Yeah, fair enough. For me, it's dog or pass. That's not because I particularly rate Ludwig. I don't. It's more that I don't rate Johnny Munoz, especially as a minus 200, over a guy who's not easy to take down. If we look at each guy, Johnny Munoz, I think his stand-up's pretty bad, to be honest. After going back through and watching the tape, like, it looks good mechanically, but the guy's an air puncher, right? Like, he's just jabbing. He's jabbing and punching the air. He just wants to kick because he's only very comfortable at a long range. Once guys get inside, he's just not comfortable striking in the pocket, right? He's a jiu-jitsu guy. He just doesn't look like he's sort of comfortable yet in, like, prolonged pocket exchanges. So yeah, he's jabbing the air and he's throwing those long kicks, which don't do much. He doesn't have any pop on his punches. Obviously, his kicks, like, if you land a flush head kick, right, they can hurt a guy. But his striking's not very impactful, right? And you can see he's quite easy to back up as well. If you come forward and sort of threaten that you want to get into the pocket, he's going to back up to try and avoid that and maintain that kicking distance. His takedowns on tape, he's actually got quite a nice, like, reactive shot. Like, he timed some good takedowns on Jamie Simmons. The problem is that it's Jamie Simmons, so you're not too sure, like, how to weight that. But, you know, his reactions and timing look good there. Got him down to his hips and then ran through his shot, moved his feet. So, you know, can't really ask for him to do much more there. And he's a very good back taker on the mat, right? So, yeah, he's definitely like a back take specialist, going back to being a jiu-jitsu guy again, IBJJF world medalist or something at brown or purple belt. So, yeah, good back taker and decent finisher from there. If we look at the other side, Ludwig, hard guy to gauge, right? Like, because there was a big gap between his UFC fight against Jack Shaw and his regional fights. He's got some good regional wins, man. Guys like Shero and stuff on his record. But just going back, you either can't find the tape or they're so long ago that you're not really sure how much they're worth at this point. And then obviously he fought Jack Shaw, who's a ranked fighter, a very, very good fighter, top contender, right, in one of the most stacked divisions. So again, there's just a huge gap here, right, in terms of the level of experience going from a guy like Jack Shaw down to Johnny Munoz. Ludwig's stand-up, very, very basic. He's tenacious, though. He'll walk forward and keep trying to throw, but he doesn't have much to offer outside of 1-2s. He's very hittable, doesn't really move his head, but I think here he'll be willing to push forward on Johnny Munoz and back him up. And to be honest, both their hands are very basic. I imagine Munoz will be on the back foot trying to kick and maintain distance. Ludwig will be pressing forward trying to throw 1-2s. Ludwig's a decent wrestler himself. We saw Jack Shaw, like, couldn't get him down easily. He was able to get him down, but it didn't come, like, without a bit of effort. I do think Munoz will struggle to take him down on the legs, but might have some success taking the back because, you know, wrestlers often are exposing their backs to try and defend the takedowns, and Munoz is very quick when he's jumping on the back and getting the hooks. So we might see Munoz getting onto his back there. I'm contemplating a play on Ludwig just because I think he can compete on minutes with his wrestling. Might be able to get takedowns of his own. We haven't really seen much of Munoz on his back in the UFC. I have a feeling that he might be content to play guard more than he should, being like a jiu-jitsu guy. And Ludwig, just forward optics on the feet, and Munoz doesn't really have too much to back him off. So I'm contemplating a play on Ludwig. He's just hit plus 200, which I'm pretty confident that's a bit too wide. Not a massive edge again, I don't think, but I'll just wait to see decision props and stuff like that, just so I've kind of got a full sort of scope of what the options are before I make my move. But no chance I lay the juice here on Johnny Munoz. I don't think the guy's very good at all. yeah, he's going to struggle for takedowns here unless he can just hit those reactive takedowns in open space and take the back as Ludwig tries to scramble up. So yeah, pretty low level fight. I think it probably goes the distance. Most likely path to finish would be a Munoz rear naked choke, I think. But yeah, see what the options are. I'll let the money line on Ludwig sort of keep climbing, see where it settles, and have a look at that decision prop maybe for a small bet as well. Again, not much conviction, so not going to be putting much on Ludwig if I do it all.
Yep, it seems like a potential dog. You know, he's never been submitted. He's going to grapple. You know, Munoz is going to stay on his back.
Yeah, but and he's got good cardio, I should mention, for Ludwig as well. Like, sure, like whooped his ass, right? And he was still coming hard in that third round. He's a gamer. He's very raw and he's got a lot of holes, but he's a gamer. He's got cardio. He's tenacious.
Well, by whooped his ass, he just jabbed and straighted him for 3 rounds because he just has absolutely zero footwork to cut him off. He was just chasing Shaw for 3 rounds, getting jabbed, and Shaw had a jacked shoulder, and he's still 30-27 them with ease. So he's just not impressed by him. Even his wins I found some of those regional wins and the split decisions. He just holds on to a lot of people, but he doesn't have no finishing upside. You know, he's just going to hold on to Munoz, and Munoz is going to be looking for legs and maybe sweep him. Maybe, like you said, it could still have a lot of value. If he's got really good submission defense, it could look good value here. But yeah, I wasn't really keen to look into it. Maybe if the line keeps getting out of hand, I will. Because
I have a feeling Munoz is going to be happy going for legs and playing off his back and stuff if he ends there. So obviously that's speculation, you know. But just with these jiu-jitsu guys, I think it's a trend that we see more often than not.
So his regional tape, I know it's regional tape, but he seems really good, man. Like he just hunts for heel hooks and legs and usually sweeps.
His jiu-jitsu is impressive, man. His jiu-jitsu is impressive, but it kind of hits a level where you can't just go full jiu-jitsu mode, right, against certain people unless you're fighting Phil Horse.
Indeed. It just depends on how good Sholinian is. But let's move on. Junior Frey versus Vidal V Viana. Another fight I don't give a crap about. Frey really should do what she did to Spider Monkey. You know, just stuff the takedowns and land a clean 1-2. And what she should have done against her last opponent. I forgot her name now. You can help me out, mate.
The puller?
The girl that always pulls guard. Vanessa Domopoulos. Man, these early podcasters, can't remember anything. It makes me seem like a casual. Keep forgetting my names. But she really should. But she lost that fight too. She's just low volume. She just wants to do the 1-2. Doesn't put any stamps on rounds. And Viana at least has really good body kicks, and she's aggressive with the stand up. And her fault is people will take her down and sit in her guard because she's exactly like Domopoulos. She just wants to be on her back. But I don't think Junior Frey is going to do that here, and she might get outstruck on her feet. I don't understand that much money coming on Viana. You know, she was an underdog, now she's a favorite. But I guess I get it, you know. I taped a few fights and I was like, she should be the more active fighter. She kind of throws nice left, rights and some nice hooks, but she's going to be vulnerable to the straight punches from Frey. Yeah, it's I don't see any massive value on either side. Maybe Viana by sub. Frey seems live to make a mistake, get subbed. But yeah, nothing I'm too interested in, so I'm going to save some time, move on. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, man, I largely agree. Like, this is not a fight that I have any sort of interest in taking a position on. The only thing before the lines came out I was wondering about was Viana no scorecards. Bet Online have dropped it at a pretty juiced price, like minus 260 or something. So no good there. Frey really should win, right? I think safe Sode will probably have her go for takedowns here. Just because on the feet, Viana will just do her like kick spam thing, which I think in Frey, it's pretty easy to make her uncomfortable, right? She seems a bit mentally fragile. She's not like the most tenacious fighter. You know, you can definitely make her uncomfortable. I think Viana will just be spamming that right kick to the body and the head. And I think that'll have Frey shooting at some point. She'll get the takedown because who doesn't take down Vidal Viana? And then it's just a matter if she can stay safe in the guard or not, right? And for me, I am not wanting to back that. Like, I can easily see Frey getting submitted from the guard here. Viana's triangle armbar sequence is pretty nasty. But in the same vein, right, you just can't bet on Viana knowing that if Frey goes for takedowns, she might spend the whole fight on her back, right? And then you're betting on her to win via guard sub. So yeah, if you're looking to play Viana, I'd only play her inside the distance or by sub. Frey, you just play the money line because there's no difference between that and the decision. But I don't want to sweat Frey surviving in the guard. I don't want to sweat Viana having to find the guard sub. Maybe our mates at Top Sport drop a better price on that no scorecards. That'd be the only thing I'd have interest in here. So yeah, otherwise a pass for me. Oh, he's done it again. He's pressed the wrong button on his laptop. Imagine he'll be rejoining us shortly. It's becoming a weekly ritual. Steve hitting the wrong button on his.
I know, right? How long?
There it is.
Damn it! that one annoyed me. That made me look like an amateur.
Can't blame the early start, mate. You're doing it every week now.
Oh no, this one was rough, man. I've come back from my rib injury and I've been smashing the rounds, and the body definitely needed to sleep into like 9 a.m. at least.
Yeah, living the life.
How was that?
9 a.m. living the life.
This just happens when you gamble for a living. No responsibilities.
True.
I've got some. I was saying this before I clicked the wrong button. I do have some interest on this fight. Mario Bautista, Benito Lopez. Honestly, didn't think I would. I just kind of taped it quickly because $1.44 on Mario Bautista. Let's just quickly tape this fight, move on, and go on to some other tape. And then I just ended up with a play at the juiced odds. Mario Bautista, man, he's just a gritty physical guy. He's improving. He's definitely on the source, or he's changed his his training regime by a lot in the last 3 fights. He's just bulging, got veins everywhere. Seems like he put on a lot of muscle. Benito Lopez, he wasn't that good before his 3-year hiatus. He's really low level of competition. No physicality. Went to a split decision with Peterson on a contender series. Got dropped by both the Moraleses. Alba Morales, who is not UFC level. Vince Morales dropped him, and then he got a robbery there in Sacramento. To this day, every time I tape that fight, it's clearly a robbery. Just kept kicking, no punches. I think at one point he landed like 3 strikes to Morales' head and like 13 kicks. So he's just going to calf kick and run away. Can be taken down. He does get up. Got instantly submitted by Manny Bermudez as well. He was 23 years of age. So, coming back now, I think 28. Maybe he's, filled into his body. He's more of a grown man now. But, a lot of the time, example, Carlos Condit, when you've got that lack of physicality, that kind of body that can't stop takedowns, you're always going to have that problem. It's just genetics. He hasn't fought in 3 years because he got his realtor license, and a lot of his posts are about going to buy a house off him, and there's barely any training footage. So, he obviously had to study to get that license, and he was focused on other work and had a kid. I'm not saying he didn't train or anything; it's still his passion. But I'm looking at it, even if he did train and never left the UFC, would he be able to beat Bautista? Probably not. So I think Bautista can manhandle him. Keep it competitive in the striking. He's a serviceable striker himself, and just if he wants to use his wrestling, just beat him up in the clinch, beat him up in the ground, maybe find the sub. I think this is a rough fight for Benito Lopez to come back after a 3-year layoff. So I'll add a bit of juice on Bautista. The line's dropped a bit now. It's not my usual play. It kind of feels weird laying this much juice, but I think there's still some value there. The only way I see Bautista losing is a flying knee, or he can be a bit reckless on the stand-up, but I think his chin's good, other than being dropped by Sandhagen and a fluke knockout by Trevin Jones, which is just he dived into a left hook with his chin. What are your takes?
Yeah, I agree, man. Kind of weird to see Benito Lopez back. Honestly, I thought the guy was done. So a bit surprising to see he's back. I guess he's still young, but it's a bit weird to see a guy take such, a break during what is like your developmental prime, right? Like right as you're coming into your physical prime. Those are the years where we generally see guys make improvements and stuff like that. So yeah, I thought he was done, and then doing a bit of research, looks like he was only out because he had a kid and became a real estate agent. So that's a bit weird to me. That just kind of screams that he kind of lost the fire a bit. He just wasn't really interested in fighting. So that's a bit of a red flag on that side. But anyway, when you look at the tape between the two guys, this is just a huge levels fight for me. But weird that the UFC's given Bautista another layup. He's had Jay Perrin, and now he's getting Benito Lopez as well. So obviously the UFC must like him if they're giving him these low-level guys. But yeah, Benito Lopez has that absolute robbery over Vince Morales, the quick sub loss to Manny. And then he beat that guy, I forget his name, Jobber, before that. I just think Mario's better everywhere. It's just a matter of, unless Benito's become some completely different guy in his time off, which I doubt, because it doesn't look like he's been committed to fighting full-time, even close to full-time. In his time off, right? He's been doing those other things. So Bautista better everywhere. He should finish this guy, I think. Benito is tough. I'll probably say it's probably a submission. I think Mario probably gets his back and chokes him out, same as he did to Kelleher. If he can choke Kelleher out in a round, I don't see why he shouldn't finish Benito here. But obviously, I laid the juice on the money line as well. I don't want to get any extra invested on inside the distance props or subs or anything like that. I just laid that money line price at -236, and now it's starting to move towards where I think it should be. It's hard to cap guys like 80% in the UFC, but this is the kind of spot where you do it, right? Like a lighter weight class, less meme sort of potential. Like you said, if Mario loses, it's going to be something like a flying knee or something crazy like that. And Benito does throw some of that weird, crazy, unorthodox shit. But that's just because he's like a wild, processless striker. And his grappling's okay, but definitely not on Bautista's level. So, won't drone on any more about that. I just think Bautista's better everywhere, and he should just absolutely clean this guy out en route to either a dominant decision or a finish.
Indeed, as long as he doesn't spend too much time playing the outside striking game, that would be annoying. But I feel like he doesn't do that.
Yeah, I like that he's southpaw as well. Kind of takes away Benito's like low kicks, which seem to be kind of his best weapons on tape.
We agree on that one. Let's address. We've got just a bunch of comments that's piled up now. Dustin really won that fight. Yeah, he did, but I thought he would get robbed. Khalil fought really well. Couple of hard shots at the end of each round to trick the stupid judges. He was throwing all his hardest shots at the end of rounds, and we talked about fading old mate just because he doesn't put. He starts to get really hittable at the end. Here we go. This is an interesting one. Herbdean. I'm going to go ahead and predict both of you on Lemos as a dog or pass spot. Interesting. Stay tuned for that. Ron Blair, Scrap's #1 fan. BigSteve and Mike Happy. Cash Big on Rodriguez last week. Say, man, I wish I just called it a day after that fight, and just count my money. It's good luck ritual from Steve Weekly. Yeah, let's hope it is. Me clicking out of the fucking video. But Tim says, by far my biggest play. He is a popular one, but rather than getting scared that the whole world is on him, I'm just gonna be confident that he's the side, and
Yeah, you just got to back your read, man. What you see on tape,
Exactly. We'll get Cage Warriors at LFA pod this week. Last week I took a break from Bellator. It's just burning me out, and LFA seems to do horrendous. It's about 10 people watch it. That's an exaggeration, but
it's a Brazil LFA as well, and those ones are horrible. I hate taping those.
Yeah. I mean, I'll still tape them, but honestly, I would have done the Cage Warriors this week, but I'm going on holiday in about 5 hours for a week, so I'm not bringing my laptop. I'll be drinking for like a week straight. Is Miranda Maverick sub free money? That's we'll find out right now. So our next fight, we've got Miranda Maverick, Shanna Young. Unfortunately, I have to take this one away. I didn't retape this. Well, we broke this down, me and you, last time. I remember saying, hot take, Young is probably going to do a bit better than her odds indicate. I'm just not that impressed with Maverick. She's never covered this kind of price. She keeps getting overvalued by the bookies. Even against Luana Jujua, she was getting cracked before she landed that elbow that busted her nose. There was nothing I really liked. I thought about maybe over 1.5 rounds back then, and potentially that sub, Miranda Maverick sub, but I think it was way better than it is now. I think maybe the bookies are on it. It was decent plus money back then. Maybe you can tell me what the sub is now. But other than that, I might just live bet Young. I don't want to throw any money on this fight. I'll see how we go. Yeah, if you look at Shanna Young's career, she has improved a lot, and she seems to put on a bit of muscle, and I think she's training full time after the baby. Like the MMA Jesus says, perfect timing. So yeah, you can actually see she's got some physicality, man, and she was stuffing all of Mazzani's takedowns. Obviously, Maverick's meant to be a bit better, but yeah, Mazzani actually has decent wrestling for women's MMA, so it's just a pass. At the moment, it's a pass. If I'm going to play anything, is Maverick sub or some overs, banking on Young surviving. But yeah, Maverick doesn't inspire confidence in there with these kind of odds against another girl that can potentially match her physicality. What do you think? Can we move on from this one quick, or?
Yeah, pretty much, man. I agree. Obviously, there's no chance you touch Maverick at the juice. Her subline at Bet Online, that's the only place I can see it's out, is plus 185. Terrible. I think for her to even get close to this price tag, she needs to just grapple her ass off. And that's not something we've ever really seen her do. She likes to stand, right, for like long periods in her fights. And I think Young can compete there, I don't see why Maverick's just going to absolutely blow her away on the feet. Young's a big physical girl. Her striking's fine. Obviously, Maverick probably still has a bit of an edge, being a bit of a better athlete, a bit quicker. And she does have the grappling upside, but plus 475 is pretty wild to me. Like, I'm going to end up on Young in some capacity. I know it. Yeah, just crazy line, to be honest.
Indeed. Just, I don't know. He's just, the sharps are not parlaying Maverick, so it's just how much casual money is coming on her in parlays, man. It's crazy. It's just, when will the public learn? Probably never. Alrighty, let's move on. Next fight, Derek Minner, V Nuerdanbieke. I have a take here, but I'm going to let you take it away, son. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, it's a bit of a classic Minner dynamic, right? Dude just goes for broke round one. And then he either gets the finish or he gets finished himself, right? And it's not too often that he makes it to the scorecards. Only against Charles Rosa, where he managed to pick up a very sweaty win. I expect Minner to have success early, right? I think he can probably get Shailan down, or maybe he can take the back. Shailan's a decent wrestler, but, we saw TJ Brown have a bit of grappling success against him. So for me, Minner early when he's fresh, like, he's good, man. Like, the guy's technique's good. He's just got no concept of pacing, right? He just spends his entire gas tank in the first round. So I'm not looking to get involved on the money line pre-fight. Just obviously Shailan's got the potential to get finished or lose the first round, so I'm not interested in laying minus 200 on him, especially since he's, not a very good fighter in my opinion. Minner, I'd rather just play the early round props, right? I don't think he's got much win equity past the first round, 7 minutes or so. And if he doesn't win the first round and he's looking gassed, right, I expect the books are going to be onto the live angle, right? If he hasn't finished at round one, I don't even know if you'll actually get much of a better price on Shailan. Books seem to be way more clued up as to guys who are like those front-loaded finishers these days in terms of live prices. So, yeah, I'll just be looking to bet Shailan, because I think if Minner spends his gas tank, he just turns into a bit of a corpse. Shailan, big physical guy, strong, has some wrestling and some sub-ability. He's a bit loose positionally. Striking, they'll probably just trade power shots. Minner's better striker when he's fresh. Shailan's just wings, messy right hands that he falls through on all the time. But Minner just turns into such a corpse, right, that Shailan will probably just be able to do whatever he wants to him. If Minner gasses out like we've seen him do in the past, Shailan's tough. He's tenacious, right? Standard Chinese fighter, just hard to put away. So, yeah, if I can find like big enough prices on early Minner props, I'll have a dig at those. I don't really want to play moneyline round plus 170. I mean, maybe it's getting there. Maybe a plus 200 I'd have to hit small. But Minner round one is plus 300, terrible. Minner sub one plus 550, again, that's not great, right? So at the moment I'm looking at a pass and just try fish for a live bet on Shailan maybe. But yeah, if Minner prices improve or the round props drop somewhere else at a price that I consider playable, then I'll have a look at those. What about you?
I do agree. I mean, I got half a unit play on Minner. As soon as I taped it, I wanted to play it as I was taping it, because I was like, this is the play right here. And I just kind of feel like the Khalil fight, 24 hours later, I'm just having cold feet, because I agree with what you said. One takedown by Sholinian, which I think he can get. I think it's a bit 50-50 whose wrestling is better. I think Mina's wrestling is very underrated. He's a very physical, good guy himself, like you said. It's just the cardio and the mental aspect. If one takedown by Sholinian and getting out of one guillotine is just, the live odds are just going to be trash. And then it's like, I'm kind of stuck with that 500 on Mina that I can't get out. But I mean, Khalil came back after that round one and proved that he can still win a decision after looking absolutely done. Everyone on Discord was saying he was about to get finished because there's no way he can do this for 2 more rounds. And I just feel like if you actually watch the TJ Brown fight, and I'm going to address this comment right here, you got to be impressed with how he handled TJ Brown. I mean, not really. TJ Brown's TJ Brown, man, and he didn't really handle him. I mean, me and Scrap were both on him. Scrap was on pre. I waited for round one after Sholinian dropped him, and then obviously he got reversed. So he ended up in a Kimura end of round one. TJ Brown got his back in all 3 rounds, and he ended up in a deep triangle end of round 2. Right, and TJ Brown is chinny, is flaky, notoriously easy to take down, which is what I saw on tape, and I wanted to play him. So I'm like, if he can get taken down by anyone, Sholinian's going to take him. I mean, Rosa took him down, man. Charles Rosa. That was my straight away. I was like, I'm playing him. And it's like a typical, he was a decent dog against TJ Brown, and now he's a -200 favorite against the Mina, who's got better jiu-jitsu, is more dangerous, more power, less chinny. Just more gassy, right? And you see Mina, a bit of a high level of competition recently. Not getting finished by Hall is quite impressive. He's gone his whole regional career just being submitted by everyone, and now he survived in Charles Rosa's guard for 3 rounds and being on the bottom of Ryan Hall and defending the heel hooks. So he's obviously improving still. He's like 32 years old. I know, surprising, right? Something's changed. Obviously, he's taken his career a bit seriously now in the UFC, and I even doubled down and put even more money on Nuerdanbieke after round 2, thinking it was 1-1, and TJ Brown is completely gassed, he's done, and he takes him down and ends up on TJ Brown, and then TJ Brown reverses him with a minute to go and gets his back and ends the fight with. He doesn't end the fight, he gets reversed again, and then Sholinian gets his back with 10 seconds to go. But that's typical TJ, right? Like, it's just like, how can you play -200 on Sholinian when he's ended up in about 7 subs by TJ Brown? And what happens if Derek Minner grabs his neck in the first 30 seconds? Like, he's been submitted 7 times, yes, as a kid on the regionals, but a couple of fights, one fight before the UFC, he just keeps putting his neck in. This is the typical guy that Minner will grab his neck and submit him. Just like a brain dead wrestler. They just, how does Sholinian win this fight in the stand up? He just throws, like you said, just throws winning hooks with no setup, and he's very one dimensional. He needs to wrestle to win, and yeah, that probably gasses out Minner, but I don't see why Minner can't take him down, get his back. Even Sean Soriano took him down in the first round, took him down in the second round. Sean Soriano was wrestling Nuerdanbieke, and then luckily Nuerdanbieke got a sweep in the second. He's got a decent sweep, elevator sweep. He's a strong, explosive guy. But both these guys are Derek Minner. If Derek Minner puts Nuerdanbieke through the rounds that he did to Darren Elkins, like, he's just kicking the shit out of him. It was just frustrating that he couldn't calm down. Like, you got a 10-8 potentially over Elkins. Why are you coming down and taking Elkins down in the first 3 seconds? Why not just bounce around the octagon for a bit? Just bounce around.
The only thing he knows, man.
He just came out like rabid wolf. He's just like, I dive for the ankles.
He's got no composure. Yeah. He's like, honestly, it's interesting the TJ Brown comparison, because TJ Brown's like less of a threat but can compete for longer throughout the fight. Minner is like way more of a finishing threat, but has a smaller window. So.
And also, TJ Brown is also a bit of an idiot. He fights very crazy.
Dumb shit.
It's kind of what helps him. He's got a bit of power and good scrambling ability. When he started fighting like that against Kamaka, he turned the whole fight around. But yeah, I don't want to keep banging on about it. It's just, there's a lot of holes that I see in Nuerdanbieke, and he's been fighting some bad opponents and just beating him. Soriano, TJ Brown. That was a 29-28, and he had his back taken for most of the third round. So Not most, but near the end. So it's just like, it's at one moment, Mina can look value, but if he gets an instant takedown and he just gets stuck on bottom, he just, the gas tank might go straight away. But yeah, I've got 500 on him. Maybe I'll just let it ride. Whatever. It feels like another Khalil. It's a risky bet, but he's gassy. Blah blah blah. But I don't think Nuerdanbieke is not that much better than Mina. I don't think he's better at all. So I'll let it ride. I'm surprised that more money's coming on Nuerdanbieke. I don't know what people are thinking. Like, how does he cover minus 200? He's literally a decision machine. He's just a grindy wrestler. So yeah. That's my take. Small play. We'll see if I keep it. Mina underdog due to Hillbilly IQ and Cletus Caveman game plan. Doggo pass. Yeah, potentially. I love that story when Mina went to Renzo Gracie or whatever it was, and then the guy's like, what belt are you? And he's like, oh, I'm a blue belt. And then he just guillotined everyone at Renzo Gracie. And then they're just like, nah, you're a black belt, son. And they just like kind of gave him his black belt. He didn't train in the gi ever or anything.
Yeah, man, the dude's a finisher when he's fresh.
I do. I've got as another guillotine spammer with average all around game everywhere else. I do have a soft spot for Mina myself. I do like his jiu-jitsu. It's just I wish he was smarter about it. Okay. Next one. You got a bit of a take on this one, so I'll let you take it away as well. I swear Mark's name was Marco Madsen. Madsen. I think they removed that O out of his name, but that's fine. Mark Madsen, Grant Dawson. What are your thoughts, mate?
Yeah, interesting fight. Obviously, Dawson, he's a guy who's fairly hyped, right? Like, he gets a lot of respect from the bookies and from the betting public. And for good reason, he's a good fighter. He's still a bit raw in some areas, but he knows how to win fights and he plays to his strengths. Marco Madsen, a bit of an older guy, came later to MMA from that Greco background, Olympian. But yeah, like when I first saw this line drop with the Dawson around the just north of minus 200, my initial reaction was that it seemed a bit wide. And then after tape, yeah, I kind of came away thinking the same thing. Dawson's going to come in and do what he always tries to do, right? He's going to pressure forward and throw some strikes with the goal of getting the takedown, right? That's always his goal. He's not a guy who's looking to really stand as his first option for any prolonged period of time. He'll pressure forward and set up that takedown. When he gets it, he's very good top game. He's very good at taking the back. Yeah, but against Mark Madsen, I think that's going to be a bit tricky, especially early on. Madsen, at Fight Ready, he's kind of made some decent improvements. He's implemented like a striking game that kind of really suits his style. He mainly just uses the jab and the low kicks, to kind of like maintain distance and keep guys at bay. And I think that kind of helps him like conserve his cardio, just focusing on those weapons to maintain distance, and makes it hard for guys to put a striking pace on them, because anytime they come into that like jab or low kick range, he's just firing those off. I think we saw some good improvements as well against Clay Guida. We saw him utilizing the clinch really well there. Was like hitting some really nice knees in the clinch. Anytime someone kind of got inside that jab and low kick range, he was grabbing collar ties and just smashing knees into the body. And obviously from that Greco-Roman background, he's pretty strong with those upper body ties. So he's using those really nicely. Both guys, I think, have some concerns in the cardio department. Mark Madsen just being a little bit older, right, and fairly muscle bound. Cardio is not the best, and obviously he's not been in MMA for that long, considering how old he is. Dawson, same thing on the other side, right, and that's just mainly because of his game, right. He's got that high octane wrestling game. He spends a lot of energy going for the takedowns and working to hold position. And Dawson also gets gassed out a bit when he's forced to back up on the feet. He's only really comfortable when he can come forward and throw. If you land on him and force him to back up, he does have some bad optics, looks panicky. We've seen him pull guard a few times in the UFC, right? So if you can make him uncomfortable and sort of force him to go on the back foot, I think, you can definitely give him some issues. And to be honest, that's at least what I expect to happen early on standing. I don't think Dawson's going to have an easy time taking Madsen down early. He's a very strong guy. He's very physical. So unless Dawson can just time like a really nice takedown on Madsen, which would be hard to do because Madsen doesn't often get out of position when he's striking because he's just jabbing and low kicking. Then I think Dawson's going to struggle for the takedown early, and I expect Madsen to have striking success, behind that jab and low kick. Dawson kind of just spams a bunch of wild random stuff. He just really wants you to worry about those wild big head kicks and stuff so that he can get underneath you for the takedown. I think Madsen's going to compete pretty well early here, so he definitely is the side for me pre-fight. I'm hoping that I can bet him and then maybe hedge off live after round one. My concerns are that Madsen starts to slow down a little bit later in the fight. I think if it's an ugly, grimy grappling fight, I kind of trust Dawson to fight through it a little bit more. And the guy just finds ways to get the back, right? He's a very good scrambler. He always manages to find the back and scrambles. So if Madsen exposes his back at all, he's at risk of giving up the round or the fight. We saw Jared Gordon, was doing a pretty good job, I thought, throughout that fight. Either defending the takedowns or escaping bad positions and going back to work, putting pressure on Dawson standing and backing him up and busting him up a bit on the feet. But Jared Gordon just being quite an unathletic, slow guy with minus physicality, just ended up getting choked out in the third there. Madsen, a better athlete, a better wrestler, I think, can maybe impose, put a bit more damage on Dawson striking. I don't think he's technically as good as Gordon as a striker, but he just hits a bit harder, I think. So yeah, Madsen definitely the side for me here as he's drifting up towards the plus 200 mark.
I agree with pretty much everything you said. I don't know what much I can add other than, Dawson, decent wrestler. He just go for things, and he's very relentless with it, even when he doesn't get stuff. But a lot of the time he gets away with physicality, right? He's a strong physical dude, and Gordon was a popular bet against him due to the cardio and whatnot, but he bailed himself out with the physicality. He was just much stronger than Gordon. But here, like you said, he's not out physicaling Mark Madsen. So I feel like he might hit a bit of a brick wall here in the first round at least. He'd probably even get taken down himself, and then. But both guys, like you said, just nothing special in the stand-up. Both very calf kickable, and both like to throw calf kicks. But yeah, just Madsen just knows how to use how to win decisions with his disadvantages. Just minus cardio, and just does the bare minimum and hits harder and 100% dog or pass. I mean, Dawson is worse than minus 200, so it's just you can't play him. You can't play him. It's just, am I going to be brave enough to hit Madsen? And then just thinking, how does he lose round one? I mean, probably on volume, because Dawson will throw a lot. Just like you said, a lot of spamming kicks and stuff. Maybe if he grinds him out, but he couldn't even grind out Leandro Silva. 39-year-old Leandro, 40-year-old Leandro Silva. A lot of people thought it was 2-0 down. So yeah, dog or pass. 100% agree. This could be another sweaty Madsen. My only concern is how's Madsen gonna handle someone with really good jiu-jitsu. Not like another grinder or wrestler, but just someone that's going to go for backs and probably will get his back if he gets a chance. But I think Madsen's a good jiu-jitsu fighter himself. He's got a lot of front chokes on these regionals. He's an Olympian. A lot of these Olympians, they pick up things very well. The striking, the mental side of it is tough. So yeah, dog or pass, man. Yeah. I'm just curious where the line's going to go. If like you said, Dawson's popular, money might come in on him. I mean, it's coming in on Nuerdanbieke. I mean, why can't it come in on Dawson?
Yeah, I think we'll see some casual money on Dawson. I think he'll get it up a little bit more.
And like
people just love the guy.
Like MMA Jesus said, what's Madsen by decision should be value. Madsen by decision has been a money train. It's a lot of finishes in the regionals, but he's 100% not subbing Dawson, that guy, Dawson has elite sub defense. And will he knock him out? I don't know. I don't think so.
I don't think Madsen barely go for subs, to be honest. He probably only has the classic power wrestler subs that only work on guys who are shit.
Yeah, he just goes for the front series, the headlock. He tried it on Hubbard. He had the Japanese necktie. And he's got a lot on the regionals. And he tried it on that Danilo Bernardo, but it's Dawson, man.
Yeah,
Dawson got
he tried it on the Pichel as well, I think.
Yeah, it's not going to work here. But yeah, dog or pass, we agree on that one. Let's move on to the next. Back to me now. Tagir Ulanbekov versus Nate Mannes. I really don't know how Mannes is going to look at 125. The dude's just giant. I see Tagir is a popular bet this week. I understand it, and I am on it as well at the moment, at the time of making this podcast. Do have a bit in the parlay with Bautista, just because I was gonna hammer both of them straight, but then I remembered how I got here, and just I don't want to be laying 2 units on one guy, 2 units on another. Juice, it just feels wrong to me, even though they could still look value. I just feel like if Mannes somehow makes 125 and he's not too compromised, it's going to be the first guy that's bigger and longer than Tagir. And Tagir, his striking defense and just a lot of things about him, his physicality is not that great at flyweight. Even against Bruno Silva's tagging him up, busting his face up, destroying his calf, throwing him around. Bruno Silva threw him around multiple times in round 1, round 3. Nascimento, he won that, just defended a few subs, but like you said, Nascimento changed his game plan after that. And then just, Team Elliott, just getting dropped by Team Elliott, getting thrown by him. Every time he went for a takedown, Elliott threw him, judo threw him, reversed him in round 1 and 2. It's just like the physicality is not your typical Dagestani wrestler. If that's happening at flyweight, and Nate Maness, who, he does have really, really good first layer of takedown defense, really strong hips. If you shoot on him if you shoot a double on him at distance and you hit his hips, more often than not, he'll sprawl, he'll hit a brick wall. He got taken down once out of like 10 attempts by Gravely, and that was a body lock where Gravely had to muscle him down. He couldn't do any doubles or anything. But yeah, once he took him down, Maness just popped straight back up and took Gravely down with ease against the cage, right? And Gravely is a solid wrestler. So no doubt in my mind that he can take Tagir down himself. The only time he's wrestling with average was when Umar took him down every single down with ease, but that just goes to show how much of a beast Umar is. The Magomedov, like that kid is another level. Johnny Munoz took him down twice, but he was stuffed literally every single takedown from that. And obviously Munoz on top, when that guy gets on top, straight to mount, really aggressive jiu-jitsu like we talked about before, but he survived. And then he not much volume on the feet. Not much volume on the feet at all, but obviously a bit of a weasel. Hits like a truck. 72 inches of reach. Tagir is what is Tagir? 70. So he's 3 inches shorter and 2 inches less against Nate. And like, how is he going to handle that? How is he going to handle that when he's used to fighting smaller guys and his defense still looks pretty average? And now he's fighting a massive dude that's just, how strong is he going to be at a flyweight? How much heart? Like the power is obviously going to translate. The hips, the strength, physicality. The only thing that I can see here is obviously he's going to be slow as a molasses, and just going to be stuck in the mud a bit, and his hands are going to be even slower. And how badly compromised is he going to be by this weight cut? And if Tagir obviously gets him down, how much is that going to drain him? So I feel like, yes, it could be a sweaty one, early. If Tagir is getting hit, getting his takedown stuffed, and whenever Tagir has to stand for 3 rounds, it's just sweaty because he never really covers his line. But yeah, I just think we're getting a bit of a discount on Tagir just because I only think we're getting this discount because Nate got dominated by Umar. Because he lost to Elliott. Pardon me, because he lost to Elliott. Otherwise, he would have been a much bigger favorite to Nate. But then also, if Nate didn't lose to Umar, then maybe the public would have been a bit higher on him. He would have been undefeated in the UFC and looked good against all the wrestlers. So I also just want to add, I think he lost that Munoz fight. But that was it was unanimous. Obviously, Munoz holding him against the cage, and Nate just throwing rubber punches is what judges valued that day a bit more. But yeah, I just think Tagir could look potential value still here at minus, a little bit better than minus 200, but it could be sweaty. I'm gonna let my action ride. Like it kind of reminds me of the Friend fight. I taped Friend extensively, wanting to be on that play, and I thought he can be wrestled, he can be hit, but I think at the end of the day, he's a much better fighter than Gall. He's gonna beat him everywhere, and it looked like that until he got submitted, like we all predicted. So I think the same thing. I think, Maness is going to stuff a few takedowns. He's going to be big early. He's going to be tagging Tagir, maybe calf kicking him. But then one takedown or maybe a late takedown in the second or third, and Tagir takes over and just kind of, we all go, okay, there we go. He's covering his price. So Tagir for me at a bit of a better price before the money came in on him today. A little bit nervous about it, but hoping that he comes out with a win. That's all I care about. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, pretty much agree, except maybe I'm a bit more confident in Tagir than you are. Basically, I just rate Maness very lowly. Like, he does have a bit of pop. He's got a bit of power, but that's kind of it. And yeah, like decent hips and, just for being like a really big guy. For me, the weight cut to 125 is like a big red flag. I have no idea how this dude is going to healthily make 125 and be able to perform. Gives me like a bit of a Brandon Davis vibe. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if he's just looking completely sucked out, slow as hell, maybe a little bit frail. So yeah, I just question that move. I'm just not sure what would prompt him to do that. I also think he should be winless in the UFC. Like, he's just got lucky that Luke Sanders is the most retarded guy alive. Lost the Johnny Munoz fight. Won the Johnny Munoz fight off that point deduction. Yeah, I just don't think he's very good at all. I don't think he should really have any UFC wins in most sort of realities. But he does. So that's why I think we're getting a decent price on Tagir here. I bet him at minus 172. Tagir is not the most, not going to blow your hair back, but I think, we're getting him here at the best price that he's been lined at in the UFC versus the worst opponent he's had. Now, obviously, he's been massively overpriced in quite a few of his UFC spots so far. And I think that's why we've seen, his price improve significantly here. But Maness is his worst opponent by a pretty big margin, in my opinion. Striking-wise, I think Tagir's probably even got a bit of a volume edge, especially with the threat of the takedown. That's going to make Maness a bit hesitant. Maness, more powerful, but he's going to be slower, worse volume. He throws like single load up power shots where he just kind of steps and lunges his way into the pocket where dudes are able to just get underneath him and shoot on him. He's strong, he's got good hips, so maybe Tagir struggles to just like blast him off his feet. But even if Maness is able to sprawl and stop the double, Tagir's going to stay connected. He's very sticky on that body lock. He's going to push him to the cage and just start working that wrestling game. And Maness's only real answer is just to try and dig underhooks, The guy's not got a very deep wrestling game at all. So yeah, I expect Tagir just to rack up control time, being sticky in the body lock. He can threaten the back takes there. And we've seen once Maness is either on his back or got his back taken, the guy doesn't know how to get out, right? He doesn't know how to escape bad positions. He doesn't know how to get up off the mat. And we could see his cardio look worse now with this cut to 125. He might fade worse than he has at bantamweight when he's been put in those bad positions. So yeah, I think he needs to just find a big one shot here to put Tagir away, which is going to be hard for him to do with his volume and his lack of speed. Tagir is hittable though, but he's tough, he's durable, he's tenacious, he'll keep coming. Maness has to like flatline him, like put him out, because if he just wobbles Tagir or makes him do the stanky leg, I feel like Tagir can survive and turn it into a bit of a grappling sequence and tie Maness up and keep himself safe. So yeah, I was happy with the minus 176, and it's moved a bit since then towards where I think it should be. I'd put Tagir at getting up towards 70% personally. So yeah, happy to play him there.
Cool. Let's let it ride. Can't be pansies.
Nope.
So I'm there with you, mate. All right, next one. One more from me, and then you take the co-man in main. I hope we can power through some of these with a bit over time. Josh Perisian, Chase Sherman. What a horrible fight. Sherman seems to be a popular pick. Obviously, he was an underdog. I would have played him myself as an underdog. I was really close to playing him at Pick'em because I cap him as a slight favorite. I really don't rate Josh Perisian. Like, I'm embarrassed to say I've taped this guy extensively so many times now. I know his game back to front, and it's disgusting viewing every time you tape him, both for physical appearances and just the fights that I have to watch. Essentially before he made his debut against Chad Johnston, every single fight he's losing until he gets on top and ground and pounds him to a win. Right? He's got bad takedown defense. He's hittable. He's not athletic. He throws stupid spinning crap for no reason, unset up. Just so many weaknesses. And he's had the bottom of the barrel matchmaking in the UFC, and he has somehow acquired a 50% win rate with a few lucky wins. So essentially, the guy should be cut. Meanwhile, on the other side, Chase Sherman, is getting the Romanovs of the world, and Arlovskis, and they really should be giving him the Josh Parisian treatment. But for some reason, they just, maybe they value Sherman a bit higher from his stint in the UFC. What it comes down to, Sherman is more athletic. He hits harder. His cardio is, I would say, is worse. But then he had that weird performance against Vandeira where all of a sudden he came out with better cardio in round 3 and knocked him out, which I did not see that coming. It's the first time. Arlovski, Porter, Collier, every single fight in his entire career, he's dead by round 3, and all of a sudden he's coming out and he's on EPO against Jerry Vandeira, and those guys were swinging for 3 rounds, like really high volume fight. I just think Sherman's potentially live to knock out Josh Parisian here. Parisian's getting busted up by Rocky Martinez. Just no head movement. Almost got knocked out by Bautista. I almost got roped into fading him against Bautista, but I just thought if he doesn't get knocked out, Bautista will flake. It's exactly what happened. Unfortunately, I missed out on that live bet. My only concern here is the same thing can happen here. I don't think he'll finish Sherman because Sherman's a much higher level than Bautista, unless of a flake. He's just gassy and hittable. But I do think if maybe Sherman hurts him, doesn't finish him, Parisian will come on with his... He fights for your money. Parisian will fight for your money, even though he's an absolute bum. He won't stop coming forward and produce these really low-level, sweaty, heavyweight fights. He was a back and forth against Porter as well, but just a much worse fighter. So that's the only way I see Parisian winning. Just Sherman just seems to be much better in a lot of aspects. But something stopped me from playing him at Pick'em, and now he's a slight favorite. If I had cold feet yesterday, well, there's no way I can play him $1.80 now. Might just have to wait and look at some KO or decision props. I'll maybe even sprinkle Sherman by KO because I think he's live. I think he's live in round 1 with how hittable Josh Parisian is. What do you take?
Yeah, I agree, man. So I bet Chase Sherman at plus 125. I think he should be lined as the slight favorite, which I think he is now as the lines moved. You pretty much hit it on the head, man. Parisian's only real advantages here are size and durability and, more tenaciousness, I guess, right? Chase is the way better striker, much faster. I guess you'd say better cardio just because Parisian's consistently showed that he'll gas after 1 round. Parisian's just got no idea how to fight, man. The guy's terrible. He's cool. Like, I've enjoyed his post-fight interviews, but fortunate to get the decision over Roque. That was a pretty bad one. I thought Roque won that one. Not obviously, but clearly enough that I think that was a pretty bad decision. But he just kind of throws random spinning strikes and just all kinds of crazy shit, which just gasses him out. The guy cannot wrestle. He just couldn't take down Roque Martinez, who's like a 5'10" obese heavyweight. He just doesn't even understand what underhooks are, or he just has no concept. He doesn't even know how to begin to execute a takedown. He's just got no clue. So I think his path to victory here is either getting on top early, when he's still got the gas in the tank to get on top of Chase and finish him there, because as we've seen, Chase can be a bit flaky on bottom. But he managed to get up a few times from Romanov, right? So even if Parisian does get him down, it's not like an auto finish. Chase has some get-up ability, and unless Parisian takes him down directly into a mount or some sort of dominant position where it's really hard for Chase to work up, he should have a shot at getting up. His other path, like you said, is just that crazy durability he has, and if he can drag it, make it really ugly later on, Chase gasses out and he can just somehow make Chase flake en route to a late stoppage somehow, or a weird split decision type thing, right? But otherwise, Chase, as long as he's not gassing out or flaking, will be way quicker, landing way more volume. Parisian's never seen a punch that he didn't want to block with his head. Chase should really be a favorite here, which he is now. So I was happy with the plus 125. I took a little bit of Chase by decision at plus 400 as well. I think this fight has a decent chance to actually go the distance. always wary of saying that at heavyweight, but you've got Perisian, who's like a very, very durable guy, although he gasses. Sherman is not like a big hitter for heavyweight. You know, he had to land a bunch on Vandera before it was finally like 3 or 4 shots in a row clean on the chin that just started that finishing sequence. So yeah, I mean, I think that was a bit wide. You know, I'd probably say Chase winning a decision is much sort of closer to his, you know, chances of winning by finish here, just because Parisian's so durable and Chase not a huge hitter. So yeah, at current lines, I would probably wait to live bet Chase after the first round, just because Parisian's first round tends to be his best when he's fresh, and you want to see that Chase is sort of fighting the right way and not looking gassy or flaky before you bet him, and you might get a better line than what's out there now.
I feel like both these guys' best round is number 1. I feel like Sherman's definitely round 1, and then he tires. But Parisian always loses round 1, and then he comes back strong and steals a robbery or something. But yeah, that's enough of that. Let's move on. So co-main event, D-Rod versus Neil Magny. I'll let you take this one away, mate. Originally, when this fight was scheduled, I had no plays. I didn't see much value on either side, and I didn't retape it for that reason. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, oh man, this is another really one that I struggled to get a read on. To be honest, I probably would have bet D-Rod if it wasn't for the fact that he had to pull out from their original booking not that long ago, a few weeks ago, because he had, it sounds like Mercer or really bad staph, right? And just the antibiotics for that stuff just absolutely like nuke your system. I know from personal experience, I had a real bad run with staph a couple of years ago. And yet those antibiotics just absolutely mess you up, man, especially if you have to go on a very strong course to deal with something like Mercer. So I'm just skeptical that in the few weeks since that's happened that he's fully recovered and been able to train properly and going to be able to cut weight without too many issues now. So that alone for me is just enough to make this a pass, right? I would have liked D-Rod otherwise, just because I think he lands the more impactful shots. He's probably the more likely to pressure forward and have those forward optics that the judges like, especially in the small cage. Magny probably be backing up, just doing his hup jab routine. But then Magny's always got this weird hypnotism, right, where he draws guys into the clinch, and you know, he's able to use his long limbs and his leverage there to sort of achieve better clinch positions and just chip away with like junk volume that wins him rounds in the clinch because guys just can't separate. Rodriguez is a strong guy. He's decent in the upper body pummel. He knows how to pummel underhooks, but I'm not sure if I don't trust him to like not get stuck in the clinch with Magny, because I'm not sure he is the smartest guy whose camp is like specifically game planning. He just kind of strikes me as the guy who goes in there and fights the same way against everyone, no matter what. And yeah, just those health concerns off him pulling out of the original booking is enough for me to just happy again. I'm just going to wait to live bet it. I need to see that Rodriguez looks all right. His normally good cardio could be affected by those antibiotics and the short turnaround off having those and cutting weight again. Magny, we know, has got good cardio. But Magny's also looked really bad lately. Like that Max Griffin fight was a pretty terrible look. He was pretty fortunate to come away with the win there. So you never know. It might end up being a live bet opportunity on Magny because Rodriguez might look good early, because Magny, slow starter, usually looks terrible in the first round, and maybe we see Rodriguez slow or something and Magny coming on late, but it's likely going to be a close fight. So pass for me. And obviously the no scorecards for D-Rod is just juiced massively. He's got all the finishing upside here, so not able to play that either, unfortunately. What do you reckon?
Yeah, like I said, I had no leans originally. Now I will retape it on my holiday, but when I retaped it originally, I kind of had this mindset of Rodriguez as a dog. Couldn't get a read, and now the second time around I'm going to retape it because I feel like Magny could be the side, and I think maybe slight favorite could still look value. I just think it screams typical Magny fight, and you know he always has adversity. You know, he gets hit, gets the kick, gets taken down, and then he just wins. You know, typical. I just think fighters like Max Griffin, who, I mean, he should have won a 30-27 against Tim Means last week. Max Griffin and Jeff Neal, just a lot more explosive and athletic guys, which are going to give Magny trouble. Whereas D-Rod's not very explosive or athletic. He's 35 himself. He has a good boxing game, decent power, but someone like that, I've seen plenty of and like I said, D-Rod's been a money train for me, man. Like Kevin Lee, everyone from the first debut to now. He's just, I've seen a lot of red flags in his career, like obviously the Derby fight, which a lot of people think he won, but that shouldn't have been that close. Going for takedowns when he needed a finish. And even if you go back to the Farrington fight in Contender Series, it was a bit ago, but a lot of these fights still hold true. What you see on tape, a really massive striker. And then even obviously the Lee fight, bit of an outlier coming off a layoff, catch weight, but there's a lot of red flags there to tell me that he doesn't have what it takes to decisively beat Magny. He could outbox Magny, but everyone's a better boxer than Magny. Jeff Neal, Max Griffin. It's just what happens when Magny starts putting on that volume and starts clinching you and stuff. So I'll retape it, but at the moment I feel like Magny could be the side for me. But again, I agree with you. Hard fight to get a read on. It's essentially a pick 'em. So. Alrighty, main event: Marina Rodriguez, Amanda Lemos. Take it away, son.
Yeah, interesting fight. Women's main event, 5 rounds. You got 2 strikers going at it. For me, it was a reasonably straightforward read, to be honest. Both are good strikers, right? But when you sort of look to break down the fight in other areas, Lemos more sub potential, but she doesn't really have the takedowns or pursue the takedowns that let her sort of put her subs into action too often. Her favorite is like the guillotine that she'll get when other people are trying to take her down. Not something that we're going to expect Marina to do here. Lemos' cardio's looked shaky in the past. Seen her slow down and gas out in past fights. I remember when she fought Mizuki, we were kind of like, oh wow, like, magically she's improved, but in hindsight, going back and watching that, you're just like, man, Mizuki's tiny. She just isn't big enough to make Lemos work and expend energy, right? But that was kind of just Lemos fighting, like separate weight classes. Here against Marina, she's got great cardio. She's got 5-round experience. She's proven that she can go hard for 5 rounds, putting out output across the course of the fight. And to be honest, I think she's a bit of a better striker than Lemos anyway. Her process is a bit better. I like her volume. She can kind of fight in all ranges. She's good at range with her straight punches and her kicks on the inside. She's got good clinch work. And yeah, she's got a much more proven cardio as well, which I think is the big thing here. I'd expect Lemos to be able to compete all right early. But I just expect Marina to pull away on volume and cardio down the stretch. You see Lemos, she doesn't stand up too well to adversity. Anytime she's kind of been tested by a decent opponent, she's fell over for the most part. She went to that split decision with Angela Hill. And just like looking at the difference between Angela Hill and Marina, I see no reason why Marina, shouldn't be like a reasonably big favorite here. And again, now she is. I know most people sort of got on those early lines around the -160s, -170s. I didn't get on to -190, unfortunately. But I thought Marina should be at least -200 bare minimum. So yeah, I played her on the money line here. For me, Lemos, I just am not interested in her money line unless you're looking to bet her, hoping she wins early rounds and then switch to Marina live. Otherwise, I think she's going to be a bit finish reliant. I don't think she has much win equity in rounds 3, 4, and 5 personally. Marina's a much better striker than Angela Hill. She has better cardio. She's longer. She hits harder. So yeah, I struggle to see how Lemos wins in there. I don't think she's going to be able to grapple. Marina's takedown defense is decent. It's been improving, as we saw against Mackenzie Dern and in some other fights. I think Lemos will just like run her own gas tank out as well if she comes trying to grapple too much here. And then I just took tiny sprinkles on the KO 4 and 5 props for Marina. There's some big numbers. So just took a little bit of a sprinkle on those. And then lastly, we've heard Lemos has actually not left Brazil yet, which is pretty concerning. She's missed her flight. I think she's trying to get on a later one in a few hours, but that probably means she's going to only arrive with like 2 days to acclimatize and cut weight. And we know that's more difficult for the female fighters to begin with anyway. So just something else that, like works in Marina's favor, in my opinion. So yeah, at current pricing, I could understand taking a pass, maybe a 4-5 decision, or wait for a live bet or something. But I think better than -200 was a good bet on Marina. What about you?
I do agree. We have the same play up better at $1.60 right before he got juiced by almost 20 cents. This was before pre-tape. Yeah, just Marina's just very much better everywhere. And that must have been a money train for me too. But this is the time to jump off. I really hope the fight that she ends up coming from Brazil, because she's one of my confident plays, and kind of more confident than maybe even Tagir and Bautista in some way. I mean, the odds are better, so I naturally like it more. It's not as juiced. I just think, yeah, like you said, I think Lemos can, I guess, keep it close. She's going to have the speed advantage early. She's definitely the faster lady, and we've seen, Rodriguez go to a split decision with Jan, and that's mostly because Jan is so much faster than her, and she was sticking and moving for 3 rounds, which I guess Lemos tries to play that game, but she has a lot more holes. Like she gets hit clean. Like she got hit clean by Angela Hill, and it's getting taken down easy by Waterson. Just she has a lot more holes, and Marina. I think Marina herself, she maybe be losing the round, but as soon as she gets a bit aggressive, I think Marina can crack her as well and wobble her and steal rounds 1 and 2, and then then she's just on path to win 50-45. I think this reminds me a lot of Viviane Araújo Grasso. I think the lines are massively favoring Rodriguez, just because obviously I think the cardio aspect is in there a lot. Lemos could potentially keep it close, just like Viviane did. Honestly, I don't know how Viviane didn't even get given 2 rounds on all the judges' scorecards, even when she wrestled. But I think end of the day, the judges are going to be like, yeah, Lemos did okay, but that's a round for Rodriguez, And it might be a little bit sweaty early, but it's just, yeah. If I didn't see the last 2 fights from Andrade, and specifically with the Waterson fight, where she just proceeded to lose the rounds, she just gave up minutes, and that was a 3-round fight. That wasn't a 5-rounder. So why was she not throwing against Waterson, who is known to back up a lot? And on the other side, MMA math, but Rodriguez just kicked the shit out of her. She kicked the shit out of her. Other than the one time she got taken down, but she was smart enough not to give her back up to Waterson. I think she just decided to lay on her back. She's 3 rounds up. Don't get submitted here, and then she put the beating on her back again in round 5. Yeah, I think Lemos' best chance is the guillotine. She's gone for it against Angela Hill. Angela Hill passed the guard ASAP. I would hope that Rodriguez can do the same. I mean, she spent like 8 rounds on the bottom of Calvillo and Mackenzie Dern and didn't get submitted. So she's quite tough. She's quite tough, durable. I think she has Lemos beat everywhere. I think this is a levels fight. Levels fight that might not look like a levels fight early a bit, but yeah, just Rodriguez everywhere. I'm biting the bullet and laying the juice, and doing what I did back in the day when I was a noob, and just anchoring some of my parlays with Rodriguez for a big payday if she wins. We just hedge it with Lemos, finish, sub. So yeah, it's been a while since I could anchor someone in the main event to like some parlays. I used to do it with Curtis Blades all the time against everyone. So yeah, I think this should be her fight to win. Maybe close in the first few rounds, and just do what I did with Makhachev against Oliveira. If she doesn't get knocked out, or Lemos kind of gets tired a bit after round 1, and she's paying $1.30 favorite, just hammer it live, man. It's only going to get worse for Lemos, rounds 2 and 3. So yeah, we're on the same side here. I hope the fight happens. I hope the fight happens, because I would lose one of my favorite bets. Which speaking of favorite bets, what are your 2 best bets, my friend? What do you got for me? We might be a bit of a boring decision.
Yeah,
on our 2 bets, I reckon.
Yeah, it's tough, because especially I think the line movement's been pretty on point this week. Rocker, then I'll just have a quick look at where the lines are sitting at the moment. If I had to pick at current lines, I'm still going to go Bautista, even though it's been juiced a fair way from where I bet it. I still like that. I still think Bautista's solid there. Like, personally, I'd line him like -400, honestly. And then second one, I won't go Tagir. I'll leave Marina for you. So I'm guessing that's one of yours. I'll say Madsen. You know, even if he doesn't win, I doubt you feel terrible about betting him at like plus 185, plus 190. I think that's off. You know, I give him much more than a 35% chance to win.
Yeah, even that's a decision for a sprinkle. You can't go wrong.
Yeah, it's only plus 225, but I imagine once other books open up, it'll be a better price elsewhere.
Plus 225, yeah. I expected better.
Yeah, not much difference from the line.
It was a big price against Pichel. I remember that.
Yeah. Wait for FanDuel to open it up.
Yeah, very nice. I mean, at the moment, all my biggest bets are the three juice plays, you know, Bautista, Tagir, and Rodriguez. Like I said on the podcast, I already gave it away. I kind of like Rodriguez more than all the other ones, only because of the 5-round aspect. If it was a 3-rounder, I'll be a little bit more nervous. Only because Lemos still had the cardio against Angela Hill to kind of keep it competitive in the third. But that's Angela Hill, you know, gassy herself and flaky herself. Rodriguez is just going to do the right thing to win you the rounds. As for number 2, I mean, you made me feel bad about picking Bautista now. Like, the odds are juiced as of today, but I mean, that's probably still my favorite bet that I played myself a couple of days ago.
I really think parlays are good, but I'd have no issues parlaying Marina and Bautista personally.
Yeah, it's been a while since I could confidently come on the podcast and say parlay these two. Like, the cards have been not parlayable. And then my other bet is Minna. So I'm going to keep it, man. Fuck it. It's Minna. Derek Minna, half a unit. Do me proud, mate. Get around one guillotine. Don't make me sweat. So that's it. Like I mentioned before, like and subscribe to the boys. ScrapCapper, BigSteve. Unfortunately, no LFA or Cage Warriors this week, just because I'll be on holiday. But I'll give my leans on Twitter. I know I always say that, and then I never post anything on Twitter. But depending on how hungover I'll be, I'll post some stuff. I feel like between UFC, Cage Warriors, and LFA, Cage Warriors might have the best bets. I don't know if you've looked into it yet.
No, I need to. I saw a lot of closely lined fights though, which is generally pretty good for betting. Cage Warriors, it's usually been a bunch of juice lately. So,
exactly. Yeah, that's the thing that I saw, and a lot of decent names. You know, names that I've taped before, so I know who they fight. So yeah, hopefully, not hopefully. Let's get some positive energy out there. 100% will make some money. So thank you, mate. Thanks again.
All right. Cheers.
And then we'll talk next week. We'll find a day. Maybe Wednesday, maybe Thursday. We'll see how my tape goes. Oh, actually, I'm coming back on Wednesday next week, so the podcast will be later in the week. So there you go. We'll just we'll find the day together.
All right, cool, man. I'll catch you later.
Have a good one, buddy. Yeah, thanks for listening.